It's time to start from the beginning. Yet evolve into something new. This city has a story. Envision a world created by you. Your chance to shape the future. To create and inspire. Expand way up high and bring life to your creations. New worlds to explore and pursue. Here, you are the visionary. You are the creator. You make cities.
The roads crisscrossing your city are more than a means of transport. By connecting citizens to their work, families, and communities, they are the veins and arteries of your city's beating heart. Every pathway you carve out shapes the routine every day and opens the door to the extraordinary events that define their lives. City building starts with roads. Roads allow people, goods, and services to move through your city, of course. And in City Skylines 2, all roads except for highways automatically carries water, electricity, and sewage lines. It's a shortcut that lets you focus on what you love about city building sooner. You'll construct and refine your road network using road tools. They're easy to learn and flexible, inviting you to follow your creative impulses. Returning players will welcome upgrades to the road tools that introduce several of the most wished-for features. Other features are totally new. Use the road tools to create seamless city blocks in just 3 clicks. In no time, you'll lay long, beautiful stretches of road to link lively residential and industrial districts to your buzzing city center. Just like that, you'll thread traffic along wide, curving streets and elegant, elevated highways. You'll even add bridges and tunnels in only a few clicks. Intersections have been overhauled in City Skylines too. Placement rules are less restrictive, and you can use pre-made intersections on new and existing roads. You can also add roundabouts. Yep, they're here. From gentle suburban roundabouts to roaring multi-lane roundabouts, it's never been easier to engineer uninterrupted streams of traffic. That's because roads will be configured automatically, so vehicles can enter and exit the roundabout safely. Simply drop your preferred roundabout over an existing intersection and ta-da! A whole new way to move people, goods, and services through your city. Decide the direction of traffic and how it flows by placing traffic lights, crosswalks, and directional no-turn traffic signs and stop signs. Erect sound barriers and construct parking lots. That's another new feature in City Skyline 2. And for returning players, it means Christmas has come early. You can even add decorative touches if you want to. They don't just make your city pretty, they can be useful too. So those trees you use to line sidewalks? Add charm and reduce noise pollution. Of course, building a city is a process of exploration and experimentation. You'll try stuff out. Some of it you'll like, and some you won't. Want to change an existing road? Use the new Replace tool. It's like the old Upgrade tool, but with more freedom to refine your road network. Change your mind about a road? Bulldoze tool to the rescue. Click, 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 and that road is a thing of the past. Road building is more intuitive and nuanced in City Skylines 2, and every pathway has a far-reaching impact. Build your city's roads as a testament to your ambition and a promise to citizens that anything is possible.
So, let's talk about road tools. All good? Here? Good?
Amazing.
Thank you. For City Skylines 2, we wanted to keep the experience familiar, but also we expanded the road tools from the ideas from the fans, and we also wanted to make road tools be more flexible for all of the users. Oh, there's so many nice things. One of them is that in City Skylines 1, when you try to build a road through a road, you had to stop at the road. But now you can just continue building through the road without stopping.
In the first game, it wasn't an option to go like through multiple roads at once. So now it's possible so that you don't need to go like step by step, and you can save time and nerves and be more creative with these new tools. I can show parallel mode. That's awesome. Okay, so now you can create this kind of roads where you have two different roads going together, and then it starts to create those two lines at the same time. And if you choose this one-way type of road, it knows that the other road needs to go on other direction. So that's kind of cool.
That's amazing.
I remember I spent countless hours in City Skylines perfecting my road network and making my traffic flow as smooth as possible. So yeah, I'm happy to say that with all the new tools in City Skylines 2, like parallel road building, acceleration and merge lanes, sunken roads, with all those amazing tools, you can truly master the traffic engineering. So yeah, I would say that the road building is the most excited feature for me.
Snap, snap, snap. Oh, snap, yes, the snapping options. We kept the snapping options from City Skylines 1 and added some more snapping options. So the players can snap one more. For highways, now you can add or decrease lanes, you can add the on and off ramps. That's also increased flexibility, which was not available in City Skylines 1. The elevation tool allows the player to build more advanced road networks. They can use the elevation tools to build cut and fill roads and also build roads on top of other roads. Grid mode allows the player to build city blocks in a very simple and easy manner. Instead of the upgrade tool, we now have the replace tool, which allows the player to more freely fine-tune their road network. With replace tool, you can add in the bus lanes or tram tracks straight to the roads. Players can use pedestrian streets to create more inner-city feeling city centers. On pedestrian streets, only pedestrians can walk on them, but also certain city service vehicles can use them. In City Skylines 2, we have so many more pre-made intersections available, and also using them is much more simpler than in City Skylines 1. Parking lots. I could say so many things about them. One of the cooler things in City Skylines 2 is that all of the citizens have to park their car somewhere. And that will in turn affect how the city will eventually form.
Roundabouts.
In City Skylines 1? Nah, so you have to build them on your own just using roads. But in City Skylines 2, you can place the roundabout asset straight to the road segment, and that will create a roundabout in that road segment. We have not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 different sizes. Road maintenance is improved upon City Skylines 1. Road maintenance vehicles travel across the roads and improve the condition of the roads that they travel upon. Players have a variety of new additional road options, such as adding or removing crosswalks, traffic lights, or control turn lanes. To help reduce noise pollution coming from roads and traffic, the players can add sunbarriers to highways or add trees to the city streets. Thanks for watching and remember, Thanks for watching and please join in the next one where we go over the traffic AI.
That's fantastic.
People are the lifeblood of your city. As they move through it, they set the city's pulse. Not in the cold rhythms of code, but with the variability and pace of a real city. So you should expect the same order and chaos that emerges when countless individual decisions are made all at once. It's a level of vibrant realism you've never seen before, and it's powered by the deep simulation of traffic AI. How people move from A to B in your city is called pathfinding. Previously, pathfinding meant choosing the shortest route by distance, but ignoring factors like travel time and traffic congestion was less than ideal. Pathfinding has changed. In City Skylines 2, 4 main factors influence how people move through your city. These factors are called pathfinding costs. People weigh up these costs to decide where to go and how to get there. The path with the lowest cost is the path they choose. But how people weigh up these costs is very different. To help you understand, let's walk through the 4 pathfinding costs. Time is usually the most important pathfinding cost. Everyone will pick their quickest route to their destination if they can. Comfort is another pathfinding cost. Who doesn't want a smooth journey? Wouldn't you avoid tricky intersections if you could? The availability, convenience, and cost of parking will now impact where people choose to go and how to get there. Easy parking is actually the deciding factor for some people when choosing where to socialize and spend their money. That's another pathfinding cost: money. Fuel, parking, and public transport tickets can seriously add up. So it's a factor in where people choose to go and how they get there. The final factor influencing pathfinding is behavior, or how likely people are to engage in risky maneuvers on the road. U-turns, lane hopping, and speeding can reduce travel times, lower fuel consumption, and avoid some of the inconvenient aspects of travel. To keep pathfinding costs low, people will reroute if something happens on their journey. For example, if they get caught behind a traffic accident that takes too long to clear, they'll find another way to get where they're going. Hang on. Traffic accidents? Afraid so. Drivers can lose control and crash their vehicles into traffic and buildings. Yikes. You see, things like wet roads, extreme weather events, and the time of day can increase the risk of a collision. But it's actually poor road conditions that should keep you awake at night. Want to reduce the risk of serious mishaps? Send your road maintenance crew out ASAP. Traffic AI has improved pathfinding so much that you can now grow a larger population. But remember, a big population brings opportunities and challenges. 2 info views can help you plan and react when life takes a left turn. Traffic Info View takes the guesswork out of traffic management. It delivers a real-time overview of how much traffic is on your road network and traffic, so you can resolve problems quickly. Deep simulation transforms the movement of people, goods, and services through your city into the pulsing reality of a living, breathing city. But how people choose their path? That is always a response to the world around them. A world of your creation.
Let's talk about traffic AI. In City Skylines 1, the agents chose their pathfinding based on how close they are to something where they want to go. In City Skylines 2, the agents actually calculate the pathfinding cost, and that pathfinding cost is based on multiple different factors.
The pathfinding consists of 4 major factors. The first one is time. The agents, all agents, be it citizens or trucks or anything in the city, they will always calculate how long it takes to travel from one place to the other. And this can be the speed of the road or the vehicle or walking or public transportation that they use. And this is the major factor in deciding which way they want to travel.
Another important factor in pathfinding is comfort, which means how many turns they have to make, how near the parking is there something else that affects their comfortness of the road. Money is also an important factor in the pathfinding.
Money is usually about fuel costs for citizens, and it can also be ticket fees if they use public transportation. And then, last but not least, is the behavior. Most agents in the city follow all the normal traffic laws, ride on the right side of the road and don't make rash decisions in traffic, but certain vehicles, these being the emergency vehicles, can in certain cases do more dangerous decisions in traffic, such as making U-turns and thus cutting the travel time to their destination if they are responding to emergencies. And sometimes some citizens can go through traffic lights on the old greens, so to speak, trying to sneak in on the last second before the traffic light turns to red.
In pathfinding, different age groups value different things. For example, teens value money because they have none, adults value time because they have so little of it, and seniors prefer the comfort because they are in their leisure time of the year. Road lanes, yes, they are still in City Skylines 2.
Now the vehicles will use all the lanes available for them. So if you have a traffic light intersection where one lane is filled with cars now, the other cars will pick the open lanes and then fill that intersection evenly.
Oh, traffic accidents. Oh, traffic is that so cool feature.
These can be caused by poor road condition, lighting condition, weather, and natural disasters.
Traffic accidents happen when the car loses control, which can also then lead to bigger traffic jams. To lower the chance of traffic accidents, the players can add traffic lights and also keep the roads in good condition. Traffic Info View shows the overall state of the city's traffic. It shows the traffic flow, the traffic volume of the city, etc., etc.
The road info view itself is kind of like two-parter. The one info view is about the whole city. Then you can also select individual roads and see their own road info view and all information about that more in depth. And you can also see traffic flow and volume of that particular street or road.
There are different types of service vehicles. Some are responding to a call, like ambulances, for example, and then there are some service vehicles which are just patrolling the city, like police cars or garbage vehicles which are collecting garbage. Players can choose from the district info panel which service buildings are working inside the district. They can choose the service building can work in multiple districts. It's also a very good feature because that was also requested in Cities Skylines 1 fans. It's one of my favorites, and it also helps manage the city a lot better because you can control where the city service is actually affecting. For example, if you want to have other side handled by the whole police and other side of the city has different services, you can control where they are affecting.
Just like in Cities Skylines 1, Cities Skylines 2 also features traffic between other cities in the form of traffic traveling from one outside connection to the next. These vehicles can contribute to the traffic in your city if they find a route cheaper and faster through the city instead of one of the highways.
If the player city is exporting certain city service vehicles at outside connection, the player can get monetary income from that exporting that service. On the other hand, if the player is lacking some city service, they can import it from the outside connection, but for a fee, of course.
I don't know if you have to do like a thanks for watching, you know, the cliche YouTube ending.
Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe.
Transport networks set the rhythm of life in your city. As they move people and cargo, they can create harmony and discord. This finely tuned orchestra of ships, vehicles, planes, and trains is yours to conduct. To create a thriving metropolis, maintain a steady beat to keep your city in motion. You build a city from scratch in Cities Skylines 2. No public transport, no tracks, no runways. Creating these and other transportation networks is a crucial first step. After that, improving and integrating them paves the way for expansion. When you establish your city, citizens can take the bus or a taxi to get where they're going. These are the first transport options you'll unlock. They're reliable, cheap, and easy to route here, there, and everywhere. Traffic conditions are their Achilles heel. It's no big deal in a new metropolis, but it is for a growing city. That's when you'll level up your public transport. Think trains, trams, and subways. Each one has pros and cons. They're all expensive to build and complicated, requiring depots, tracks, and stops where passengers can buy tickets and get on and off. That means they can't offer the far-reaching service of a bus line or the door-to-door service of a taxi. On the other hand, they're more efficient, not least because they carry more people and cargo and reduce road congestion. Let's start with subways. They're fast, high capacity, and they take up very little room when they're underground. If they operate above ground, you can run them on elevated tracks so they don't get tangled up with road traffic. Trams. They're more flexible than trains, so you can more easily add lines to service new and expanded neighborhoods. Build tram tracks on existing roads, or run them on dedicated tracks if that's the best way to keep the hustle and bustle dialed up. Trains carry loads of people too, and not just suburbanites. They can bring visitors from outside your city in large numbers. Trains play another critical role as cargo transport. Build a cargo train terminal, and you build a hub where businesses can receive, ship, and store incoming and outgoing goods. Water transportation is another option for passenger travel and moving cargo. It's another high-capacity network, though water transport's real potential lies in imports and exports. You see, cargo ships might be slower than trains, but these bad boys can carry 1,000 tons of stuff to and from your city. Yeah, that's right. You can trade with other cities. So you'll need somewhere to house all the goods and resources coming and going. Easy. Like cargo train terminals, cargo harbors double as cargo storage facilities. Like all of the other networks, air transportation has drawbacks. Planes carry fewer passengers and less cargo than ships and trains. Airports are also astronomically expensive and have the footprint of a small town. However, air transport has a pretty irresistible advantage: speed. Plus, planes won't add to road congestion, they don't follow a rigid track, and they make outside connections incredibly easy. The transport mix in your city will become complex and intricate. Use the transportation overview to review passenger and cargo transportation networks separately. Filter again by transport type to see high-level details about individual lines and toggle them on or off. Use the transportation info view to understand the impact of your networks. Plan and manage transportation networks carefully to find the right tempo for the movement of people and cargo. Conduct it perfectly, and every citizen, trader, and tourist will march your city toward greatness.
Public and cargo transportation are as important in City Skylines 2 as they were in City Skylines 1. First, you create the depots. Then, you set up the stations or the stops. And then, you create the lines with the line tool. All of the land-based public and cargo transportation types need depots to function. The depots send out the vehicles, and they also have upgrades that improve their functionality.
You can upgrade your bus depot to service electric buses.
Increased capacity for rail yards and dispatch center for taxi depot. Also, many of the different transportation modes can be connected by you to the outside connections to create the lines that you want.
You can now make your own intercity bus lines. The trams are included in the base game.
Cargo ships can carry a lot of cargo. They are slow, they completely skip traffic jams, but once they get to harbor and unload their cargo, they can cause a lot of traffic as the trucks pick up the cargo and transport it all over the city.
In cities too, you can draw cargo lines between stops and outside connections. You are able to adjust the number of vehicles as well as the operating hours.
With the buses, you can create intricate lines that skip traffic jams and busy intersections. They no longer need to go directly from stop to stop.
Citizens care about cost. You can adjust the ticket price per line. If you make the cost too high, they might not ride your public transportation.
Buses and taxis are unlocked with milestone progression, but every other transportation type you can unlock by using the development points.
The new international airport is huge. It's the size of a small town. Oh!
That was great. That was great. You got all the words out?
Yes, but I was so sad. Like, it's the size of a small town. I can't, I'm so nervous. So they will see it. They will see through me.
The game also features a line overview panel where you can inspect all your public and cargo lines. You can also access each line through the panel.
The transportation info view panel has become much more detailed.
The transportation info view lists all the different lines in your city categorized by public and cargo transportation. It also includes information about how many passengers there has been, and it also includes information about the amount of cargo transported per type per month.
Every decision you make weaves a thread into the fabric of your city. But don't for a second imagine a smooth, seamless surface. Cities don't work like that. Instead, it's an urban patchwork marked by the realities of life and living. You'll create and stitch it together with zoning. Zoning lets you decide where people live and work. You create these residential, commercial, and industrial zones with zoning tools. They work in a couple of different ways. Click and drag over cells on the map to zone large rectangular areas. Zone all adjacent cells with one click. Or get granular, zoning a neighborhood cell by cell. When you establish a city, you choose a map. The map's theme dictates if your city's buildings will have a North American or European architectural style. You can now use zoning tools to mix it up. Go on, sprinkle a little North American flair into your European city, or vice versa. Okay, you know how zoning tools work, but what can you zone? Well, let's start with residential zones. The places and spaces where citizens relax with friends, raise families, and rest their heads night after night. There are now 6 residential zone types. 2 will be familiar: low-density housing, detached houses for single families, and high-density housing, tall towers packed with residents. New zoning types include medium-density row housing and medium-density apartment buildings. There's low-rent housing now too. Huge apartment buildings with tiny apartments. Finally, there's mixed housing. Here, residents live in apartments above ground floor shops. Mixed housing adds next-level realism because homes and shops rub elbows like most real-world city centers. Ready to talk business? You'll create dedicated commercial zones where companies sell the locally produced and imported goods people need and want. Your commercial zones are also where citizens and tourists eat out, catch the latest blockbuster, and dance until dawn. You'll establish industrial zones with factories, workshops, and warehouses where businesses can store goods ready for distribution or export. You'll also develop office zones. Here you'll find small, low-density buildings with only a few businesses in operation. You'll also get the glittering, high-density towers that define your city's silhouette in the sky. Growing your city and zoning go hand in hand. Here's an example. You zone residential areas that boost the population, and with it, the demand for jobs. You respond by creating an industrial zone with factories where people get to work. Now, these factories produce goods, but they won't stay in business long without somewhere to sell them. You solve that problem by expanding commercial zones. You see? Each zone helps create the momentum you need to realize the city of your dreams. And it wouldn't be the city of your dreams without signature buildings. These are unique residential, commercial, industrial, and office buildings that you unlock as your city expands. They're free to build, and you can plop them anywhere. Plop. It's City Skylines lingo. Go on, say it. Plop. What's so special about signature buildings? Well, they function like any zoned building. A home for people, a warehouse for industry, an office for workers. But they can elevate the neighborhood in unique ways. Signature buildings can also bring citywide benefits. Zone and place your signature buildings carefully so each city district flourishes and plays its part in the success of the whole city. Life's rich tapestry has never been richer than in City Skylines 2.
Okay, let's talk about zoning. We have the familiar tools returning, which are the fill tool, which fills the entire continuous zone with the selected zone type. Then we have the marquee tool where you can select these rectangular areas and just plop a little zone there. You can also have the paint tool, which you can use to basically paint cell by cell to make the zones exactly the way you want.
Compared to CS1, in CS2 the dezoning tool is added to your mouse and it's the right click on your mouse, so it's not a separate tool anymore.
And you can even zone over existing zones. At release in City Skylines, we'll feature two architectural styles, North American and European. These styles include zoned buildings, service vehicles, road markings, and roadside props.
In the first game, there were only 2 residential zone types. In the second game, we are introducing third level, medium.
We have medium density row housing, medium density apartment buildings, mixed housing with shops at the bottom and apartments at the top, as well as low rent housing.
Low rent housings are bigger buildings with small apartments. People who are living in these kind of buildings are students, young adults who have just moved out, or singles.
Mixed housing is a new zone type in City Skylines 2. It answers the demand for low commercial and medium density residential. These apartments are good for saving space because they have both the shops and the apartments.
The shop at the bottom of the building pays rent, so the residents of the building doesn't have to pay that much.
The mixed housing buildings have the separate section for shops and apartments, and they can mix and match to create a large variety of combinations. The zoned industry has 2 categories of buildings. Most of the buildings are manufacturing companies, but there are also warehouses where these companies can store their produced goods before they are sent further into the commercial sector or other manufacturing companies or outside connections. In City Skylines 2, we have overhauled and improved on the zoning demand calculations. We have great tools for you to understand how to zone better. The system is now more complex, but not complicated. The game has a new feature called City Specialization Bonus. This means that companies working on same materials and producing similar goods, when placed in close proximity, these companies gain an increase in efficiency, which in turn increases their productivity and profit. In City Skylines 2, land value system has been overhauled. This time, it's the citizens and companies that decide which areas are desirable in your city. And it is your job to provide them with the services and opportunities they need to live prosperous lives. The zoning tool also introduces zoning overlay. This includes information for the different zone types, where to zone them, and which places are not maybe the best places for them to be in. A new feature in City Skylines are the signature buildings. These are unique, ploppable zone buildings that decrease the demand of the zone type they are in. These buildings are unlockable. They usually have 2 to 3 different requirements before they are unlocked. In addition to contributing to the zone demand, they also have positive effects to their neighborhoods as well as the city as a whole.
Successful city building and City Skylines 2 is all about people, anticipating their needs and desires, ensuring they feel safe, and actually keeping them safe, understanding what annoys and delights them, and doing what it takes to give them healthy, happy lives from beginning to end. How? City services. You'll build clinics and hospitals to deliver healthcare, plus the ambulance service people need in life or death situations. Oh, yeah, sometimes it will be a death situation. So you'll add death care services that transport people to the city's crematoriums and cemeteries. You'll set up schools for kids of all ages, plus colleges and universities. After all, education fosters social advancement. Life still might take a turn for the worse for some people. When it does, you'll want the safety net of a welfare office. One thing that improves everyone's well-being, no matter what's going on in life, is time outdoors. You'll create parks, plazas, attractions, and landmarks that make people living nearby happier and healthier. As in real life, safety first is a good mantra in City Skylines too. So you'll want various fire and rescue services. Just adding a firehouse reduces the likelihood of a blaze in the neighborhood. Same with police stations. Build them and send patrols out onto the streets to cut crime. Communications is a new city service in City Skylines too, helping you meet more essential needs. That includes the internet. Naturally, the easier it is to connect to the web, the happier everyone will feel and the more profitable the city's businesses will be. Of course, everyone relies on electricity, so you want to avoid long outages. They aren't just aggravating. Blackouts will prompt people to move out and force businesses to pause production, putting profits at risk. Keep electricity lines humming with sustainable energy sources like wind, solar, geothermal, and hydropower. Go old school with fossil fuels like coal and gas. There's always the nuclear option too. This is the most realistic city builder ever. So you'll need to deal with a lot of stuff. We're talking sewage. Gross? Yes. Necessary? Also yes. With a wastewater treatment plant, you can purify sewage and circulate water into your city's freshwater network. Or you can pump sewage into open waters and out of the network. Don't forget to stay on top of garbage. Garbage processing centers, landfills, and an incineration plant will stop it piling up. But don't take shortcuts. Air and water pollution can sink land values, harm the health of residents, and tarnish the city's appeal to tourists. Ready to introduce a city service? Previously, you only had to construct a city service building. When that service needed to cover a larger area or support more people, you simply constructed the same building again. Not anymore. Almost all city services can now be upgraded to scale operations and expand functionality. While city services make your city livable, they come at a cost. Balancing these costs and the very real needs of everyone in your city is the name of the game. Subscribe to the City Skylines 2 YouTube channel for updates and more feature highlights.
And today we're going to talk about city services. Okay, I guess I can just go blah 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 something. Yeah, blah blah blah. In general, the city services are overhauled for City Skylines 2. This time you don't need to place so many separate city service buildings to cover your city because of the better pathfinding as well as the new city service upgrades. All city services in the game include upgrades. These are operational extensions and sub-buildings. You can answer the different needs of the city by placing a new wing to your medical clinic that it'll add more patient places there, or a new ambulance garage, and so on. We have updated the district tool for City Skylines 2. In City Skylines 1, the districts were painted using a paintbrush. In City Skylines 2, we have a much more accurate polygonal tool that you can use to shape and create districts. The brush tool was a bit inaccurate. We heard from players that some people had some gray hairs trying to create the perfect district shapes. So this time we're going to give them the tools to create exactly what type of districts they want. One of my favorite district policies is the gated community policy, where you can dictate that who actually is allowed to move through a district. And if you want to keep the district like calm from the heavy traffic, then you can use that policy to control the area, keeping the riffraff away. That's basically what it is. In City Skylines 1, the land value was more directly affected by the city services and especially the parks. In City Skylines 2, the land value is affected by the citizens and companies' willingness to move to an area and pay rent there. You can indirectly control the land value by placing services that those specific agents need at that moment, and that will in turn make them more willing to live in an area and pay higher rent, and that will then affect the land value itself. The road maintenance has a bigger role in City Skylines 2. This time the road condition doesn't only affect the speed of the traffic, but it also affects the likelihood of traffic accidents happening. So it's important to have an adequate road maintenance fleet so that they can keep the roads in condition. The road maintenance vehicles have two different models. One for the summer, and then it switches to a snowplow during the winter. Citizen healthcare is an important part of your city to keep it functioning. The citizen happiness is dependent on their health as well as their well-being, so it's important to build enough healthcare in your city and provide them in the places that the citizens need it. The citizen death care, on the other hand, is something else. As with many other things in City Skylines 2, also the citizen death and death care have been improved on. We no longer have the classic death waves that we had in City Skylines 1. Unless there is an actual house collapsing, the hearses don't clog your streets. But if there is a disaster, then you can absolutely expect that there's going to be a lot of buzzing in the streets. The garbage management has also been improved in City Skylines 2. We have now introduced a recycling option for the garbage, which then produces some materials that can be used in the industrial buildings in your city. We've also added a new feature to the landfill where you can actually create the area for your landfill yourself. And if your city is a small one, you need a smaller space, but if your city grows, you can then expand. As with many other systems, we have also improved education. The game features elementary school, high school, college, university, medical university, and technical university. We've also added a new level of education, and these education levels match the different demands for workplaces in your city. Fire and rescue has been also improved. The fire department handles building fires as well as the potential vehicle fire. They will also search and rescue people from collapsed buildings. The game also features postal services and internet services. The citizens want to send mail to their loved ones or maybe an angry letter to the editor, and this improves their well-being. The city also can have internet service, which will also improve the quality of life for the citizens, and it will also affect positively the profit margins of the companies. Watching the households, you can see the effect of the mail service availability and the internet service availability. If your city doesn't have the different emergency services yet, the outside connections will provide your city with the various services. They send out police cars, ambulances, and so on. The only downside is that it will cost you slightly more compared to if you had the service in your own city. The administration category is an entirely new service category in City Skylines 2. It features City Hall, Central Bank, and Welfare Office. Welfare offices help citizens with low well-being. City Hall and Central Bank provide the city with various citywide bonuses. I can be more happy, yeah, I can definitely be, because I'm like way too serious. Next week we're going to have electricity and water And that was that.
To understand the basic needs of your citizens, you need only look in the mirror. Like you and me, there are a few important things they need to live healthy, happy lives. That includes electricity, water, and sanitation. With these systems in place, everyone in your city has a shot at living their best life. Let's take a look at electricity. When laying roads, you also install low-voltage underground cables that supply electricity to homes, offices, and shops. These cables plug into transformer stations. Transformer stations are also connected to the high-voltage power lines streaming from your city's power plants. They act as a junction where low-voltage cables and high-voltage lines link up. Together, they form the grid that pumps electricity right across your city. There's one drawback. Power lines and electric cables can only carry so much electricity. When demand increases, they can max out, creating a bottleneck. Keep the grid humming by evenly spreading electricity connections around your city. You can also build power lines to import electricity from neighboring cities. Imported energy will save your bacon if local power plants fail to produce enough electricity when demand increases. It will, too. Expect spikes when the thermostat drops and everyone dials up their heaters. Hot weather will cause spikes too, as people flick on air conditioners, fans, and ice machines at the same time. Your power plants might produce more electricity than your city needs. When that happens, you can export it to your neighbors. While this can offset production costs, think it through. By storing excess electricity in emergency battery stations, you have nothing to worry about when demand rises. Emergency battery stations help your city get the most out of solar power plants. Battery stations power the city at night when the plant isn't producing electricity and recharge when they operate during the day. Of course, solar is just one renewable energy source. You can build wind, water, and geothermal power plants too. Fossil fuels are another way to power your city. Or you can go nuclear. Let's talk water and sanitation. Surface water sources are the same as in city skylines. Expect flowing rivers, glittering lakes, and vast, swirling oceans. Groundwater is different. These underground reservoirs replenish over time, so they can run dry if they're drained at a faster rate than they're refilled. They're also susceptible to ground pollution. When they're contaminated, dirty water is pumped into your city's freshwater system. That's bad on every level, mainly because decontamination takes a long time. Build a groundwater pumping station to tap this resource, and a water pumping station to bring surface water into your city's water system. You can also add water to the system with wastewater treatment plants. These plants can process sewage to produce clean water for homes and businesses. There's another way to manage sewage: sewage outlets. They release waste into open water, which can help prevent sewage from backing up. And that's a must when it comes to public health. Bungling waste management can make people seriously ill. That's why you want to keep sewage outlets well away from pumping stations. How can you balance the very human needs of citizens with your ambition as a city builder? It's simple. Imagine living your life down there, day in and day out.
Let's get electrified with electricity and water. Just like in City Skylines 1, in City Skylines 2, the electricity and water are very critical for your city. Without electricity and water, your city cannot function. Now the player can put the cables either overground or underground. Groundwater is water that is underground and that has to be accessed with the groundwater pump. Groundwater is a somewhat limited resource. If you overpump it, then it will run out. The emergency battery station is a support building for your electricity city service. It can support your electricity grid in dire times. The emergency battery station is a great companion for the solar power station. During the daytime, the solar power station can charge up the emergency battery station, and during the nighttime, the emergency battery station can release the energy back into the electricity grid. The game features two different kinds of cables, the high voltage and the low voltage. High voltage can transfer a lot of electricity via the single cable line. The low voltage cables transfer a low amount of electricity by themselves. The low voltage cables are also built into the roads. The cables have a limit to how much they can transfer. So if you're powering a whole district via the low voltage power cables, it can cause some bottlenecks. To bypass these bottlenecks, you can either build more cables to the area or build a high voltage cable into the district and then transfer that into the low voltage via the transformer station. All your favorite electricity buildings from City Skylines 1 are back in City Skylines 2. They have been powered up and they are now even bigger and better. Just like with other city services, the electricity and water and sewage buildings have a ton of upgrades. Upgrades bring variety and options for you as a player, so you can either improve your city productions or electricity capacity storage or sewage treatment or water and pumping and Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one, where we go over the maps and themes.
It's easy to forget how much our day-to-day is shaped by where we live. But how our world looks, feels, and changes sets the scene for our lived experience. It's the same for the people in your city. And in City Skylines 2, the world is a whole lot bigger. You can now build on an area 5 times bigger than before, equivalent to 159 square kilometers. That's bigger than some countries. Maps are composed of individual tiles. Connect them to create a sweeping urban jungle, or don't connect them to develop interesting little pockets of life. You can unlock 441 tiles on each map, but you'll have 9 to work with when you begin your city building. Reach milestones to unlock more. When you do, choose tiles that best serve your expansion plans. Before you click, preview the total buildable area, what natural resources are available, and the cost of that tile. The expanded map inspires you to think big, but remember to think up. Height limits have increased too, freeing you to carve a city higher in the sky than ever before. Building on this scale also invites you to think outside of the box, literally. Create connections to cities beyond the edge of your map to open up trade routes that can accelerate your city's growth. Before you select a map, look at where it sits on the globe. Is it north or south of the equator? And which hemisphere is it in? Check out how much of the map can be built on, which natural resources it has, and what, if any, connections already exist to neighboring cities. Found a map you like? Click and give your city a name. This is also your chance to change the default theme if you want to. There are 2 themes, European and North American. Themes shape the look and feel of your city, from street markings to cop cars. The biggest difference is the architectural style of residential and commercial buildings. You can add buildings from the other theme when zoning your city. This lets you pepper European buildings in your North American city, and vice versa. Still, the theme you choose dominates the appearance of your city, and it can't be changed later. There are 10 maps in the base game, each drawing inspiration from real-world locations. You might even recognize them. And with the vast area available on the new expanded maps, terrains are more varied, resources are more accessible, and there are more ways to connect to other cities. You'll discover maps where life is lived on the sandy beaches of a sprawling archipelago. Maps that invite you to build at high altitudes with a mountainside map or along the winding waters of a rich river delta. There might even be a map that looks like the world outside your window. Select the map that stirs your imagination to set the stage for life and living in the city of your dreams.
Hi, I'm Lauri Jääskeläinen. I'm a game designer at Colossal Order, and today's theme is Maps and Themes. In Cities Skylines 1, in Cities Skylines 1, the playable area was 9 map tiles, which was roughly 33 square kilometers. In Cities Skylines 2, the player can get 441 map tiles, which brings the playable area roughly into the 160 square kilometers. You can unlock the map tiles by gaining the milestones, just like in Cities Skylines 1. But unlike in Cities Skylines 1, you can just click and drag the map tiles that you wish to purchase. You can also unlock the map tiles all the way to the map edge, so you can create new outside connections. Before you purchase the selected map tile, you can see the available resources, the buildable land area, and also the cost of the selected map tile. The map tiles don't have to be connected to each other. They can be bought separately and in any order you want. See the map tile over there? You can buy it. That was so cringe. Or that one. Or that one.
Because the playable area is much bigger compared to Cities Skylines 1, we just also need to make sure that the whole playable arena is much more detailed, because player will be able to reach all of those spots. So it was a bit of a challenge to make sure that each map is very detailed and have different scenarios.
The base game has 2 different themes available, the European and North American. The theme defines the visuals for your street. For example, street markings, traffic lightings, and many more. But you can read more about that in the 4th dev diary. When you start a new map, you can see in the new game panel many different options for the map. For example, the default theme, the latitude, which tells you more about the seasons, how they will work, but also different gameplay options which will affect how the game will play out. You can also see the natural resources available in the map. The game features 10 cool maps, and they are all inspired by real-life locations. For example, the Great Highlands are inspired by the Scottish Highlands.
Yeah? Do you have a favorite map?
Well, that's the Highlands map.
That's why you mentioned it, no, I get it.
How excited are you for release?
Very, but also very nervous, and I hope players will really enjoy the Cities Skylines 2. I would say that every release is a memorable moment. Not knowing the response from the public, and also the excitement when the people are really excited about all the new features. So I would say that for the last 8 years, every release was a really memorable and important moment for me personally.
Thanks for watching, and I'll see the next one where things will get heated with the climate and seasons.
Life in a thriving city can be a whirlwind. Sunny moments of joy and laughter can cloud over as stormier times roll in. It's impossible to forecast. Luckily, the weather in your city will be more predictable, as each map has a unique climate with reliable seasonal patterns. Maps in Cities Skylines 2 are inspired by real-world locations, so your city's climate will be unique to that place. The climate dictates how each of the 4 seasons looks and feels. As one season gives way to the next, the length of the day will change. The amount of sunshine and cloud cover will too. Temperatures will vary, and so will precipitation. Why is this so important? Well, weather will impact your city in different ways. Rainy, snowy, and sun-soaked days can pile pressure on your electricity grid. Same for city services, which will need to respond. Like in winter, road maintenance crews power up plows to clear the road network of snow before it causes collisions. If city services don't respond in time or do what needs to be done, accident rates can rise with the knock-on effect of overstretching emergency crews. Seasonal weather also affects how people move around your city and where they spend their time. Parks will draw crowds when the sun is out, while restaurants, movie theaters, and other indoor spots will get busy fast when it rains. Of course, extreme seasonal weather can turn life upside down in a flash. You can help your city prepare for natural disasters with disaster control systems, but there's no stopping them. Your city might experience disasters with a lowercase d. That's when disasters cause traffic accidents that clog road networks. Disasters with a capital D are a whole lot more serious. They impact city services and the local economy in the short and long term. As a city builder, it's up to you to help your city bounce back when nature is a bit extra. But for the most part, seasonal changes will be predictable. Winter will run its course and give way to spring, just as night will follow day. The day and night cycle connects to the calendar. When a day-night cycle ends, one calendar month will have passed. So every 24 hours, a month of the year will have come and gone. The seasons will change after 3 cycles. And after 12 cycles, it's time to start all over again. The citizens of your city will experience life's highs and lows like the shifting seasons. Good times and bad will come and go. By building your city's unique climate, you can create the backdrop for life lived to its fullest.
Today's topic is climate and seasons. Each map has its own climate, and the climate is based on latitude and longitude. That means that there are differences in the length of the day, weather conditions, etc. Seasons affect the weather, and they are different in each climate. Some climates have distinct seasons, and in some climates the seasons blend more together. There are 3 basic types of climate: temperate, continental, and polar. Fun fact is that many maps' climates are based on real-life locations.
Do you have a favorite climate to play on?
No. I cannot pick my favorite climate because they are all so great.
Solid.
It can be sunny, it can be rainy, or even snowy. Each map features unique weather, and it changes with the simulation. The weather will affect on citizens' behavior. For example, they will prefer indoor activities while it's raining. When it's sunny, they prefer outdoor activities. The weather also affects on energy consumption. For example, when the weather is warm, the citizens need ACs, and when it's cold, the buildings need heating. The rush hours are based on citizens' schedules. All citizens now follow the schedule. In the mornings, they go to work and school, and in the evening, they come back home, and that creates the rush hours. Ah, amazing! Natural disasters are big weather events that affect on your city disasters ways.
In disasters.
Hey! Why in? Can AI put that in? There are 3 types of natural disasters in the base game. There are forest fires, hailstorms, and tornadoes. I don't have any favorite natural disasters because I hate them all because they ruin my city.
That was amazing, yes!
Traffic accidents, building fires, and all natural disasters are logged in the event journal. Thank you for watching, and next week we will go through economy.
They say money makes the world go round. It's as true in city skylines too as it is in our world. Keep your city spinning by steering its economy on a course to prosperity. Your city's economic simulation is modeled on real-world economics. This introduces complexity and nuance to city building without making it complicated. The economic system in City Skylines 2 is actually engineered to help you grow your new city, and as it develops, to give you influence over the financial levers that generate wealth. You'll raise revenue by taxing the sale of goods and services, energy production, the extraction of raw materials, tourism, and more. You'll also tax private incomes, as healthy economic activity will mean jobs for citizens. With money in your city's coffers, you can invest in city services and infrastructure, schools and universities, and all the other engines of urban development. An important aspect of economic growth is balancing supply and demand. Businesses will do this automatically, exporting their goods when they produce more than the market wants. However, this can hit their bottom line as transport costs can reduce profitability. To keep the rate of production in line with demand, businesses will even fire employees. On the flip side, when products aren't made fast enough to meet local demand, companies in your city will be forced to buy from expensive outside connections, and that can quickly eat into profits too. Taxes can also influence the production rate of specific goods. You can slow the rate of production by raising taxes, lower taxes to accelerate production rates in more similar manufacturers to your city. It's also possible to motivate businesses to specialize in ways that strengthen the economy. Imagine reducing taxes for furniture stores and the various industries that manufacture their products. That will make them more profitable. More businesses specializing in the design and manufacture of furniture will crop up. Before you know it, your city will have a flourishing furniture trade and a reputation that keeps cash flowing in. Managing and adjusting production chains is another way you can influence your city's economy. Overhauled in City Skylines 2, this adds a whole new dimension to city building. There's no need to micromanage every detail if you don't want to. But if you love a puzzle, there's almost no limit to how deep you can go. Starting from raw material extraction, you can get raw materials into the city by importing them or producing them locally. Opt for local production, and you'll need to establish a specialized industry area. There are 9 total. 4 are farms where you can raise livestock or grow either grain, vegetables, or cotton. Forests produce timber, though how much depends on the age of the forest. You can extract ore, stone, or coal from underground deposits. And lastly, you can drill for oil. You'll manage all this activity via the economy panel. It puts your city's finances at a glance and allows you to monitor and adjust production outputs for various goods and materials. With integrated tools and clear displays, the economy panel is a user-friendly way to manage and grow your economy. So, if money really does make the world turn, how will you grow your city's economy so everyone in it can enjoy the ride?
Let's get down to business and talk some economy. The economy in City Skylines 2 has been remade from the ground up. We have strived for more realism in the simulation of households as well as businesses in the city. We wanted to create a system that is complex, but it's not complicated. The economy system also is designed to balance itself out so that it helps new players as well as newly found cities. The government subsidies help new players in the early hours of the game by helping the economy of the city. The government subsidies will cease eventually when your city becomes self-sufficient. Experienced players will reach this point earlier in the game as they can optimize their city to their liking. The households receive government subsidies in the form of unemployment benefits as well as financial aid. The idea is that there are many moving parts in the economy, and this creates variation in how the businesses as well as the citizens react to things. We wanted to give it great depth so that it serves the game now and in the future. The households comprise children, teens, adults, and seniors. And each of these age groups has their own preferences when it comes to spending money and resources that they want to buy. When households look for suitable places to live, they look for a place where they can get resources, aka shopping places. They also value the proximity of jobs as well as schools. For example, if you have a family with children, they prefer to live close to an elementary school if possible. Different families also require a different amount of space. If you have single households, they can live comfortably in low-rent housing or in one of those tall apartment towers. But if you have family with children, they prefer the larger spaces like detached houses or apartment buildings. If the citizens can't find a suitable place to live because they are poor and cannot leave the city, they can become homeless. And sometimes you can see homeless people residing in parks in your city. In the case of industries and the businesses overall in your city, the industrial companies take resources and then turn them into other types of goods that they then ship to companies that sell them to their end users. This usually means the citizens in your city. Some of the goods are also transported outside of the city into the outside connections. The industrial companies want to be close to where they get their resources, but they also want to be close to the places that they then send the goods that they are producing. The smoother the transition from getting the resources and producing them and then shipping them to other companies and end users, the better the profit margin for the companies will be. The economic situation of the city also affects how the companies function in your city. If the economic situation is good, the companies will increase their production, and this also means that they can hire more workers. If the economic situation becomes bad, the companies will reevaluate their production, and this means that they will scale it down and lay off unnecessary workers. That would be great, but why can't I say it like...
You just said it. That's a usable take.
Is it? Is it? Okay, great! In the case of commercial companies, while they also want to be close to the place where they get their products, the more important aspect of their existence is to be close to the customers themselves. So a lot of commercial companies benefit from the proximity of residential areas. And it is always the people who buy the stuff that keep these companies afloat. The customers are important for the commercial companies because they are the ones who choose what to buy and where. So if the commercial companies are located far away from the potential customers, they are less likely to get that foot traffic into their shop. And I guess it's also a little bit about the efficiency, like how good are they at selling? Industrial companies, their thing is that the workers, their effort is turned into production. And the more efficient is, the higher the production is. And in the case of commercial companies, the workers are turned into service. And the better they are, the more they can service, which means that more people can be in the shop, and it means that more people buy the products, which then means that the product is probably going to be cheaper, just like in real life when you have large stores that can sell for cheaper than small corner stores. And that was that. Can we use that? The office companies are a form of industrial companies. Offices use electronics to make software, and they can then send this software to other office companies who turn it into media, banking, and telecom. We've also wanted to update the companies in City Skylines 2, and one of those updates was that we wanted to have a more realistic number of workers in each company. So now you can have office towers with, well, hundreds of workers. In City Skylines 1, we had industrial specializations that you could zone in, just like the normal industries. But in City Skylines 2, the specialized industry areas include farming, where you have livestock, cotton farming, vegetable farming, and grain farming. Then we have stone, ore, and mineral mining, as well as oil drilling and forestry. And now you have specialized industry areas that you create by first placing the hub building on the map and then creating an area where that hub building operates. So if you have an oil field in your city, you can just create an area over the oil field and you'll soon see different types of oil manufacturing buildings appear in that area. I personally really like the livestock option of farming because you can see all the animals walking in the area. Unlike the regular industry in your city, the specialized industry areas can't go bankrupt. They will instead just adjust their production according to the situation in your city. If there's a surplus for any goods in your city, the companies will export them to outside connections. The more goods that they export to outside connections, the less profit they will make because their transportation costs will increase over time. There are three things that affect the transportation cost and potential profit when transporting goods. These are the price of the good, the weight of the good, as well as the size of the good. The loan system in City Skylines has been reworked. You can now take one loan and the loan limit increases as you reach new milestones. And you can also adjust the loan at any time in the game. You can either lend more money or pay back some or all of the loan. We've also overhauled the tax system. You can adjust the residential taxes by education level and all of the business taxes by products. If you want to incentivize certain businesses in your city, you can help them by adjusting their taxes. And if you want to really help the production of these companies, you can subsidize it by setting negative taxes. Each city service has a service budget that you can adjust, and this service budget affects the city services' efficiency. Some city services also have service fees that can be adjusted, and adjusting these will affect the behavior of the citizens who use these services. In the production tab, you can see all of the available resources in the game. You'll see how much money you have made through taxes on those products, as well as their deficit or surplus. On the production tab, you can also see the inputs for the different products, as well as where those products are used. And that's that. Red. Yeah, thanks for watching.
Cool, that's it. We're good.
City building is a journey led by your creativity and ambition. So the decisions you make along the way reflect who you are. To help you build a city that's true to you, City Skylines 2 puts 20 milestones packed with rewards directly in your path. When you unlock a milestone, you're rewarded expansion permits. Expansion permits allow you to quickly add new map tiles to your city. But this isn't just about real estate. Use expansion permits to release tiles with the specific attributes you need to see your plans through. Milestones also reward you with development points. You need development points to add city services, the bedrock of a functioning metropolis. But just adding them isn't enough. The needs of citizens will change as the city expands, so you'll need to keep developing city services to keep pace. Your development points make it happen. The city services you choose to add, how you develop them, and just how advanced you make them all make a big impact on the character of your city. This is how it works. Each city service has a development tree. The nodes on the development tree are more and more advanced buildings that level up the city service in a specific way. As you unlock these nodes, that city service becomes more sophisticated and specialized. When you first add a city service, you're at the base of the development tree, so you get the basics. Like when you add the city service public transportation, you get buses and taxis. Basic stuff. Spend development points to unlock nodes further along the development tree. In this case, you might invest in trains to move more people more efficiently. Or you might go in a totally new direction by taking to the skies. It's all up to you. Remember, the further you go along a development tree, the more development points you'll need to cough up, and they don't exactly rain from the sky. You might not add a city service at all, or you might not develop it very much. Others, you'll take all the way. Once you add a city service and unlock nodes on its development tree using development points, it's time to open your wallet. To actually pay for the construction of city service buildings, building extensions, and operational upgrades, you need cash. Don't worry, you can cover it with the monetary rewards you get when you unlock each milestone. By now, you're probably asking, how do I unlock milestones? It's all about expansion points, or XP. You'll rack up XP passively and actively. Passive XP are awarded up to 16 times during each in-game day. They're awarded as your city's population and the happiness level of that population increases. That's why smooth-running cities that foster the well-being of citizens make steady progress toward the next milestone. Active XP are doled out right when you make bold investments in your city. Watch them rack up when you plop a signature building or invest in core infrastructure like the city's road network. In City Skylines 2, milestone rewards empower you to unleash your creativity and ambition on the path to building a city that only you can.
Hi, I'm Lauri. I'm a game designer at Colossal Order, and today we are progressing through the game progression. Just like in City Skylines 1, in City Skylines 2 we have the milestones. In City Skylines 1, the milestones were limited to the population of your city. In City Skylines 2, the milestones are unlocked by gaining expansion points. There are two ways of gaining XP in City Skylines 2. You can get XP by either building a building or placing a road. You can also get XP passively. Your passive XP is gained through if your city population is growing or your citizens are happier. There are 20 milestones in the City Skylines 2, and as for the rewards for the milestones, there are the increase in the loan limit, monetary rewards, expansion permits, new features, new services, and of course the development points. So, what are development points used for? Well, they are used to progress through the development tree. Each city service has its own tree that you can progress through. You can unlock new city service buildings for that service with the development points in the development tree. That way you can truly develop your city in the way that you want to. For example, if the player really wants to focus on the public transportation in the city, they can spend their development points in the transportation development tree. Or for example, if someone wants to really focus on the education of the city, they can just go ahead and unlock the college and the universities first before focusing on other aspects of the city. I think the players are gonna like the freedom that the development tree brings them, because that allows them to develop the city just the way they want them. I usually like to advance through the roads development tree first, because that allows me to build the highways just the way I want them. We, the developers, cannot wait to see how you're gonna develop your own cities.
You might think that city building is all about glass and steel, bricks and mortar, tarmac, smokestacks, and iron tracks. But it's also about joy and laughter, sadness and tears, struggles, triumphs, even love. That's because city building is about people. While the behavior of your city's citizens is rooted in deep simulation, they aren't guided by ones and zeros. They follow very real human impulses on their life path. A life path encompasses major events that shape their lives. It starts with being born in or moving to your city. Everything after that, from their first day of school to college graduation, their first big promotion to retirement, their nervous first date to tying the knot, is just another step on their life path. Most days will be uneventful. Citizens will follow a routine of attending school, working, and spending free time with friends and family. But like the rest of us, they'll have good days and bad. Citizens can fall ill, suffer accidents, lose their job and become homeless, commit crimes and face the consequences. On the flip side, citizens reap the benefits when your city thrives. These happy citizens stay and contribute as they get older, until it's their time to line up at heaven's pearly gates. Happiness is something you can actually measure in City Skylines too. It's a score that tallies an individual's health and well-being. You can track happiness on each citizen's information panel. View the panel for their household to learn what's contributing or detracting from their collective happiness. Get the basics right, and citizens will basically be happy. Ensure they have a reliable electricity supply, clean water, decent plumbing, and regular garbage collection. Minimize ground, air, and noise pollution. Keep a lid on crime so citizens feel safe. High-speed internet is pretty much a must-have, and so is a suitable home. Families need space, so they'll benefit from living in larger homes in low-density areas where kids can roam freely. Small apartments are best for singles and students who want low rents in busy areas where they can go out and socialize. Healthcare is non-negotiable. Without it, citizens can die from illness and injuries. Even with good sanitation and low pollution, citizens need medical facilities near enough to travel on their own steam or by ambulance for routine care. This is especially important for your city's elderly population, whose health won't always be tip-top. Seniors are actually in the last of the 4 life stages your citizens will experience. They might even live in a multi-generational home with citizens in the other life stages, including children, teens, and adults. And look out for 4-legged family members too. Keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening with your citizens by viewing their life path journal. It records everything that happens to them from the moment you click follow. It'll show you personal details, their happiness score, and their Chirper feed. Oh, and one more thing, Chirper is back. Expanded and better integrated, Chirper now gives citizens a voice. They'll talk about what's going on in their lives and what's happening in the city. If their chirps get likes, you know just how important that topic is to them and other citizens. This can be helpful when they chirp to complain about underperforming city services and applaud their excellent work. When it comes to the health, well-being, and happiness of your citizens, think quality, not quantity. By creating places, spaces, and experiences that enrich their lives, you'll discover what city building is all about.
Today we're going to talk about citizens. Let's see, how am I gonna put my hands like?
Yeah, that's good.
So, Skylines 2.
You can be like this.
Yeah, maybe I can be just like this. Yeah. In the game, you can select a citizen and then click their panel to follow that citizen. The citizen is then added to the life path journal, and the journal tracks their life and records the main events in each of the tracked citizens' lives. These can be finding a new job, or moving to a new place, or finding that special someone. While happiness was an important aspect in City Skylines 1, we have greatly improved on it in City Skylines 2. Happiness is made of the citizens' well-being and health. Well-being is affected by the availability of basic services. It is also affected by the crime rate of the city. Health, on the other hand, is affected by healthcare and its availability, as well as the amount of different types of pollutions that are around the citizens. Citizens can also become sick or injured in an accident or a disaster, such as a building collapse or tornado. Citizens are divided into 4 age groups. These are children, teens, adults, and seniors. Households can comprise different types of citizens. Some can be just single adults, while others are a couple. There can also be families with children, and there can also be multi-generational households, which includes children, parents, and their grandparents. Also, you are all super excited to hear that the chirper is back. The chirper shows you the chirps from the citizens as well as businesses and city services. Especially those of the citizens are important in that they will show you what's happening in the city and how the citizens feel about it. They can send positive or negative chirps. And if you look at the like ratio on the chirp, you can kind of sense whether that subject matter is important to the citizens or not. And, well, it started as a bug, but we liked it so much that you can actually like the chirps yourself as the mayor. In the game, we feature 5 different levels of education. These are uneducated, poorly educated, educated, well-educated, and highly educated. And each of these education levels is matched with a school. Each citizen from teenager onwards decide whether they go to school or a job based on the potential wage they will gain in the future in a high educated job compared to the wage that they will earn if they go now to a low educated job. If a citizen's well-being decreases enough, they can become a criminal. Once they become criminals, they start plotting a crime. And the targets of the crime usually are found in areas of high crime probability. When a citizen commits a crime, the police are sent to the location to secure the crime scene. If the criminal is still in the premises when the police arrive, they will arrest them. The criminal is then taken to the police station jail, and some of the criminals there will then be sentenced to longer prison time in either the prison that is located in the city, or if there is no prison in the city, they are sent to outside connections. After they have served their time, the former criminals return to the society and their criminal status is removed and they become again normal citizens. The citizens have a need for leisure, and there are different options in the city that can provide it. The leisure options include city outdoor and indoor recreation, which includes parks and plazas as well as different landmarks and sports venues. Then there is shopping, restaurants and bars, and last but not least, there is travel. Citizens from outside connections can visit your city as tourists. When they arrive, they stay at the hotel, visit different leisure locations, and spend money in shopping areas. This brings additional income to your city. The different leisure options, such as parks and landmarks, increase your city's attractiveness. Thanks for watching. Hey, come on, guys.
The sounds of the city. Inspiring. Exciting. Annoying. In City Skylines 2, a rich and dynamic soundscape brings your city to life. What would a city be without the hum of traffic and people? To ratchet up the realism of City Skylines 2, vehicles, people, and animals add to the audio mix. Cars even sound different depending on how fast they're going, while sirens match the European or North American theme of your city. Click on a person and you'll hear an audio cue that expresses their age, gender, and mood. Even animals will have something to say when you click. Almost all city service buildings have sounds related to their function and operational status. These sounds can change with the time of the day, the outside temperature, and when it's extended or upgraded. By layering sound loops with distinctive audio spots, city service buildings add variation and texture to the city's soundscape. Ambient sounds are more than background audio. They follow the camera, changing according to whatever you're looking at. Move from one zone type to another, the ambient sounds change. When bad weather blows in, the ambient sounds change. As an emergency unfolds, the ambient sounds change. There are 2 radio networks in City Skylines 2. Each network features a few stations playing music from different genres. Stations have hosts who talk between songs and anchor the talk show if there is one. Public citizen radio stations mostly play classical music, but there's a little pop in there too. The best part is these stations are ad-free. Radio stations do more than entertain you. They're designed to deliver news and information about what's happening in your city. These fact-based announcements can help you address critical situations before they get out of hand. Of course, that includes disaster alerts. Whatever's playing on the radio will be interrupted if disaster strikes.
All citizens in the affected area are instructed to immediately move to a safe distance until the situation is under control.
Don't worry if you miss it. You'll also hear an alarm if you've built an early disaster warning system building. To avoid overwhelming you with too many sounds at once, City Skylines 2 uses audio grouping. This system accounts for the distance and number of sound sources relative to the camera. Then it reduces the number of potential audio sources activating simultaneously. It also switches between close and distant sounds, so traffic on a busy highway miles away doesn't sound as close as that police cruiser speeding past. The immersive audio of City Skylines 2 is designed to enrich your city building experience. Embrace it and lose yourself in a world of your imagination.
Hi, my name is Annu Syren. I'm a sound designer here at Colossal Order, and today we talk about sound and music. I have a teacher who always says it's pointless to talk about sound because sound is something you can only experience. I see sound as a very different kind of experience than seeing things. In City Skylines 2, we have expanded many of the audio options to give the players more control over what kind of sounds they want to hear and at which volume level. And we have also tried to expand what exactly is heard in your city. The city ambience consists of 3 layers depending on your camera height. Then on top of that, we have built different kind of ambient sounds based on your camera locations, such as if you're above a forest or a busy highway, or if you are having rain and how intense that rain is. On top of that, many building sounds react to simulation conditions such as weather. So cold weather outside the parks might sound different, or will sound different, I guess. Not might. I should know. I made it. I've lived, I don't actually live in Tampere, but really close by, but my heart belongs to Tampere always. But I've lived here since I was 16 years old, and I did a 1-year stint in Helsinki, and then I came quickly back. I just love this city. I love the red brick feeling and the old factories. We're now here in literally middle of Tampere with the trams in the background. And it was actually very nice to be able to enjoy them in the city. They are fairly new. when you had to design things you don't have access in real life, it always gets a bit more complicated. So it was nice to be able to see and hear the trams in real life here. And I think they're also pretty fun. I love the little bell. Like buses don't have that. I take inspiration everywhere around me, and especially since we are dealing with a city builder, so I pay a lot of attention to like distant sounds. I find it easier to replicate sounds that you hear really close, but it gets a bit more difficult when you're hearing things that are really far away, but you still hear them, like traffic, because you have an individual car, but when you are standing on a field and look at a highway from like a distance, it sounds very different. So that's something I was really inspired by. So I actually took a lot of walks near roads and just listened to how the cars sounded from a distance rather than from like really close by. And it's very interesting because you need to be able to recognize them as the same source, but it sounds different. So like for example, if you hover over a residential area, it sounds a bit different close by than when you like take the bird's eye view and it's mixed with wind and sounds like that. Making audio for City Skylines 2 gave me two big challenges: the number of audio sources and the transition between near and far sounds. The game recognizes the distance and number of audio sources. When a certain threshold is met, the simulation groups all the individual audio sources together and creates a group audio, which is then played instead of the individual audio sources. And this is to prevent the audio from becoming too cluttered, so you can actually still hear all the relevant and interesting things. That's something that has always interested me in game sounds, is the transition between two locations. So if you are going from indoors to outdoors, how does it sound? How does it make you feel? Like you immediately get a different emotion when you switch locations. So I just had to do that, but in a much, much larger scale. That was one thing that really I wanted to highlight in City Skylines 2, because when you move from like a busy city center and you pan your camera out over the water or into like a serene forest, how does the soundscape actually like change? Those have always been the things that interest me the most. The fact that the camera can move fast. Player can move the camera from one position from like a busy city center into like a quiet forest in a really short time. So how do you make it like so that the sound keeps up and sounds correct? That's something I also had to, with the help of programmers, of course, figure out. There are so many variables and moving parts, so I really had to pay attention that whatever player is focusing to listen on is always like elevated and clear. Personally, for me, the biggest like, oh wow moment was when we implemented the thunder, like the lightning strike sounds. And they actually have a small delay, so when you see a lightning strike in the distance, the sound actually has to travel for a while before you can hear it. though I've like done sound things and implemented sounds before, I don't know why, but it just felt like, wow, that is so cool. I'm a problem solver. I like difficult things. I like my games difficult. So I definitely enjoy the challenge, even though it can feel a bit frustrating and headache-inducing. Like I mentioned earlier, I just love the feeling when it sounds just right. It's not something I can like pick apart what makes it right. And I firmly believe that sounds are a big part of like emotions, and that's why it's important for me to feel things when I design sounds. Of course, they are there to portray information, but they are also like carriers of emotions. And I hope that players can feel what I felt when I heard the sounds. I really hope that I have managed to uphold the good standards that gamers are keeping everywhere, because I have tremendous respect for players in general.
I just don't understand how you do it.
Me neither at times. Thank you so much for watching. Next week we are talking about photo mode and cinematic camera. Bye!
Modesty is a virtue, and it's totally overrated. Unveil the beauty of your city with the revamped photo mode in City Skylines 2. It's powerful, dynamic, and user-friendly. So there's almost no limit to how creative you can be when capturing the magnificence of your city and sharing it for all the world to see and celebrate. With one click of the photo mode button, you can access 2 image capture modes, free camera and cinematic. Use free camera mode to take eye-popping stills. Toggle to cinematic mode to unleash the filmmaker inside. There are all kinds of camera property settings to get the shot you're after, including adjustments to the camera body, camera lens, and aperture shape. Use subsettings to configure them even more, for example, with camera collision or focal length. Fine-tune the depth of field, motion blur, bloom, vignette, film grain, and panini projection with settings on the lens tab. Go mad on the color tab. You can transform the vibe of your screenshots by tinkering with the colors, white balance, and brightness. Whatever you do, don't wait around for ideal weather conditions to take your shot. Weather settings let you drench your city in sunshine or draw it under the shadow of stormy skies. Set the distance clouds, volumetric clouds, fog, and atmosphere. Settings on the Environment tab work in a similar way. Change the time of day and set the simulation speed, which is useful when creating videos in cinematic mode. Ready to roll camera? You'll find basic controls for the cinematic camera when you enter cinematic mode. Use them to calibrate camera position controls, which control the position and rotation of the camera, and all those other cool camera properties. You'll also see controls like play and pause to view the playback you created, save for when you want to keep that playback, and reset when you want to start fresh. Wait, hang on. A playback? A playback is a set of points spaced throughout the timeline of your video. Typically, each point has a different camera position and rotation. The video comes together as the camera transitions between them. And as you add points to the timeline with different camera positions and rotations, you can also tweak the transition between them. When you're happy with your playback, record it using any game capture software. That's exactly how we've created this series of feature highlights videos. The best part? You can then share your videos with a global community of city builders who share your passion for testing the limits of what's possible. Your city is unlike any other because it's yours. So go on. Show off a little.
Today, it's lights, camera, action time because we're talking about cinematic camera. So say cheese.
Nice.
Why we want to make the cinematic camera so awesome that it is? Well, we saw from the City Skylines 1 community that the players really wanted to take a lot of awesome pictures and videos from the cities. So we wanted to provide them the tools for that from the get-go, so they can just capture all of the most memorable moments in their cities from the launch of the game. With the photo mode, we wanted to enable the players the capability of taking the most perfect shot of their city if they really want to. The camera features many options. There are the camera tab, which features the camera body, camera lens, and aperture shape options. Then there's the lens tab, which has the depth of field, motion blur, bloom, vignette, film grain, and Panini projection settings. And from the color tab, you can adjust the color adjustments, white balance, and brightness. In the weather tab, you can make changes to the distance clouds and volumetric clouds, fog, and atmosphere. In the environment tab, you can adjust the time of the day and set the simulation speed to whatever speed you wish it to be. When taking your videos, there's also a very important aspect of the keys. They are used to control the set of points of how the camera and other transitions will happen in the cinematic camera mode. Very first step is to open the photo mode. On the photo mode, you click the cinematic mode arrows. Once the cinematic mode is active, you can start capturing keys. Then you can move the slider to a different time in the timeline. Then again, you can press the capture key button. After you have created the timeline that you wish, you can just play it from the start and see it all unravel before your eyes. One of my favorite things about the camera mode is that you can adjust the time of the day to capture the perfect moment, the perfect sunset or the sunrise for the city skyline. For the skyline of your city, oh, I want to make that fun. Yeah, so you can really capture the perfect sunset or the perfect sunrise for the skyline of your city. The in-game trailer was also filmed with the cinematic camera feature, and that was like really awesome in my opinion. It was like really Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.